So I have a whole stack of books here. And we're going to go through them one at a time. The first book is actually my smallest book. Yeah, that's right, Peter. It does help. One of the things I had to learn early on in my journey was breathing is important. Do it throughout the day. You can't just let your emotions and your stress ball up and then expect to kind of recover at the end of the day. You have to kind of take care of it as it arises. So, first book. This is Dao De Jing. Uh, I will say interpreted by Stephen Mitchell. This is the infamous translation. And I'll say translation because what Stephen Mitchell did is uh, use a couple of different English translations and then reinterpret those to make sentences. Surprisingly enough, it is the most popular one. If you go to Amazon and you just search Dao De Jing, this is what pops up. Um, it's because it's more of an interpretation and not a direct translation. You get really easy to understand statements. Um, it's more concerned with conveying the meaning than it is conveying what was written. And in some ways, a lot of people I've spoken to in Taoist communities don't like this version. They consider it like a starter version, and then you kind of work your way up, or they just don't like it at all. This was the first one I started with. This is the pocket version. There's also a larger size that looks just like this, but bigger. So if we flip to chapter one, I'll kind of go through chapter one with each of these so you guys can compare the different translations or interpretations. So this one says, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. So, Stephen Mitchell, if you just want to get started and you don't know where to begin, definitely take this one. The introduction in here, don't skip the introduction to any copy, but especially this one. I did a mistake and just jumped right into it when I first bought it. Not a good idea. There's a lot to unpack in history and with Lao Tzu and how it came about that really puts it in perspective for you. So don't skip your introductions. The other really, really popular version that you're going to see is this. This is the Tao Te Ching, and it is a direct translation. It was done in the 70s by, I'm going to try and pronounce this name, Jia Fu Feng and Jane English. Um, it is certainly a word for word direct translation. It's kind of like, as far as I understand it, it's almost like the gold standard. This was actually before this one. And to give you an example of what it looks like on the inside, it's very text heavy, so no pictures or anything. But let's go back to chapter one and we'll see how it compares. This one has a really long introduction. Like half the book is actually just breaking down methods and, again, more historical facts. So if you remember in Stephen Mitchell's version, chapter 1 went, the name that can be named is not the eternal name. So in this one, it says, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of, here's a change, heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one sees the manifestations. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. So, obviously very similar. There's not a whole lot of change for verse 1, but as you get deeper, there are some chapters where this is really different, especially the more metaphorical passages. Stephen Mitchell will basically just rewrite the whole sentence, and it has nothing to do with the Chinese that was written. So interpretation, translation, Guy Fu Feng, and Jane English. Uh, Definitely get this one. These two are like like I said, these are like your gold standards for translations. Um, yeah, check them out. So, book 3, this is a fun one. This is not, it is a translation, but this is actually a comically illustrated copy of Dao De Jing, and it's amazing. Um, on my previous live stream, actually did a whole video on this one. So you can see the Chinese is over here on the side, and then on the inside, you get these little illustrations of the different statements and sentences. It's amazing. It's funny. It's kooky. Lao Tzu is drawn as like a little old man with a mustache. It's fantastic. Um, the translation is done by I can't remember who does the translation on this one. I know the illustration is CC Sai. It's right there on the book. But yeah, this one is very much more an interpretation than the other ones are. It's certainly not a direct. And what you'll also get, and the kind of neat thing about it, is when he gets to the end of a chapter, he'll have kind of a summary where Lao Tzu just gives you the moral of the story for that chapter. And that's also really fun. Um, this guy made CC Sai did an illustrated version of Chuangzi, which is kind of the second sacred text of Taoism. I don't have it. I have it downstairs, but I don't have it with me right now. But it's blue. So the blue one is Chuangzi, and the yellow one is Da De Jing. They're both amazing. You can check them out if you want to. You can buy them on Amazon. Now we get into more pretty ones. These are copies that I walked into the library one day and just nabbed because I thought they look great. This is not my entire collection. I've got more on shelves downstairs, but this is a pretty hardcover yellow copy. Looks like this. So when you flip it up, it's also got these really cool gold page edging, these edges here. I've always found that really cool. Reminds me of when I was a kid, and I had this Bible that my mom gave me. And it had silver edges to the pages. So this guy is more of a translation. If you get to chapter 1, I'll read off that one. So this one says, the Tao that can be described is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be spoken is not the eternal name. The nameless is the boundary of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of creation. It goes on to say, freed from desire, you can see the hidden mystery, but having desire, you can only see what is visibly real. So, in some ways, this tries to unpack like just a few words. So, instead of what Stephen Mitchell says, um, instead of using the word desireless, it'll just say freed from desire or like having desire. So it kind of puts it in the more common language. Um, I also really like the introduction section to this one. You'll get passages like this that are about Wu Wei, and not only does it talk about the history of Taoism, it actually talks a lot about some of the main concepts that you'll unpack in the text. It's got some cool drawings like this too, and that's really cool. Yeah, it's a very, very pretty book. Oh, this is the John MacDonald translation. I'm sorry. Yeah, right there. McDonald's a name. There's this website that you can go to where it'll actually put the copies of Dao De Jing on there. I think you can have like 4 or 5 next to each other, and you can choose each column. You can choose a different translation, and it'll flip to the same chapter for each one. You'll find this translation in that website. In fact, you'll find, I believe, all of these translations on that website. Um, yeah, this is one of the most pretty books. You can see the decoration there around the edges. Yeah, really cool. Christopher says the Archie Baum on Mexico University Press is my favorite. Yeah, cool. I hadn't heard of that one, or if I have, I don't think I own that one. I'm sure there are a lot of them I don't own, but hey, can always make another trip to the store. Okay, this is an interesting one. There's a book that a lot of people know called The Tao of Pooh. I actually just wrote about this. The Tao of Pooh is written by a man named Benjamin Hoff. Benjamin took the character of Winnie the Pooh and put it into Taoist a mindset and ideology and tried to show how Pooh and Piglet represent different aspects of Taoism. The Tao of Pooh, great. The T of Piglet, not not so great. But the Tao of Pooh is amazing. It unpacks a lot of the core concepts and values of Taoism for you. But what I didn't know until I walked into the store one day and found this is Benjamin Hoff's copy, his own version of Dao De Jing, which is great. I had no idea he did this. It's got some amazing full color images in this one that he took, just of nature. As far as how his translation goes, let me let me get to chapter 1 and we'll take a stab at this. So the cool thing about him is he'll give you chapter titles. So you can kind of pick up on the meaning by what he has. Christopher says the Tao of Physics from early 1970s, great book about relationship between Yeah, I've heard about that one actually. I think my wife told me about that once. I haven't gotten it yet, but I do know of that one. It's on my, should put it on my to-do list. But this one says, the way that can be followed is not the eternal way. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So some of that is similar, or that similar, some of it is similar to what we've read, and some of it is different. Without name is the origin of heaven and earth. Has name is the mother of every earthly being. So interesting here, without name is hyphenated as one thing, as one being. So without name is the origin of heaven and earth. And then again, has name is also hyphenated to represent one singular thing. Has name is the mother of every earthly being. Consistently desire without form, again hyphenated, without form, in order to study its mysteries. Consistently desire has form in order to study its frontiers. So you can kind of see that Benjamin is taking a lot of liberties here. I can tell you from having taken a look at the actual Chinese, the Mandarin copy, and using some online tools just to try and translate it. This is pretty far out there. Not only is he taking liberties with the translation, which of course, Stephen Mitchell has done, and that's fine. But he's really selectively doing it. So you get this weird kind of half cross between being directly translated and then not. And there's no way to really know in this copy which is which. So interesting. But again, I picked this up mainly because Benjamin Hoff is kind of well known for his Dao Pu book, and also because these pictures are amazing. There's one picture for every chapter, just pretty pictures of fields and trees and nature. It's very calm and relaxing as you go through it. This has a really massive introduction, but one of the cool things it has is here at the back. After you read, so you can see here, see how that says 22? So after you read his version of the Tao Te Ching, you flip into the back, and then he gives an explanation, a couple of paragraphs, usually about a page of each chapter, which is really nice because the last thing you want to do is read this and then not understand it, and then have no way of finding help. So this will do it for you. Has a kind of a interesting translation, but the explanations in the back are really good. Uh, my final copy, again, this is one of the prettiest versions I've ever seen. This is a hardcover. I really love the silver design. This is the traditional Chinese symbol for Tao, by the way. Inside, you get a lot of color and double wide photographs, again, of nature. So very calming, very relaxing. Your chapters look like this. So you get the traditional Chinese as well as the translation, and you also get some amazing photographs. I think this has my favorite photographs out of all the copies I own, even the ones that aren't here with me today. I think this is the best one. Some cool little symbols here. Okay, so this is translated by Chad Hansen. So Chad Hansen, you'll find that name if you look into translations. You're gonna find his name pop up. Some people really love this translation. I think it's good. I think all these translations are good, and they all serve different purposes. Yeah, so let's take a look in the actual translation. This has a rather large introduction. Here we go. Again, they do chapter titles in this one, which is kind of nice. Chapter 1 is titled Tao's Names and Puzzles. Ways can be guided, they are not fixed ways. Names can be named, they are not fixed names. Absence, that's in quotations, Absence names the cosmic horizon. Presence names the mother of 10,000 natural kinds. Fixing on absence is to want to view enigmas. Fixing on presence is to want to view phenomena. Okay, so in this translation, I was looking at this earlier today. I don't like this translation. I mean, it's just me. It sounds very wordy. It sounds like he went through each Chinese character and was like, how can I make this as poetic and as beautiful as possible? And then chose it. Um, if you're a beginner, I do not recommend this book at all. I think it's pretty, and I think it's well put together, but I don't recommend Chad Hansen unless you already have an understanding of what's going on. It can when you start to be metaphorical on top of text that's already metaphorical, which is a translation of a poem from 2,500 years ago, it can get really complicated really quickly. And yeah, that's my opinion on it. No, this is Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu is the author of Tao Te Ching. Chuangzi is a man who lived a little bit later. Well, first of all, it's not really guaranteed that Lao Tzu was a real person. His name, Lao Tzu in Chinese, Lao Tzu translates to old master. And the fact that a man named Old Master would actually write such an important religious text seems like a really big coincidence to me. Um, but I like to believe he was real, just for the legend of it all. Zhuangzi was a real man, for sure, that we're sure of. He came about 100 years later, give or take, and wrote a book that is named after him now, a collection of writing. His writing is very narrative. This is very poetic, right? They're poems. His writings are stories. So he'll be standing at a riverbank on a bridge, and he'll talk about whether or not they understand what fish want. He'll tell a story of a giant eagle or a giant bird flying over a mountain. Um, he'll tell stories about, his wife dying, and someone shows up and, talks to him, and they have a conversation. So it's very narrative. Tao Te Ching is very poem, and what does it all mean, and beautiful, but Zhuangzi's funny. It's intentionally funny. A lot of people prefer Zhuangzi over Lao Tzu. It kind of depends on what you appreciate more. You should read both. They both unpack a lot of the same ideas. They expand on Dao De Jing. Zhuangzi expands a lot on Dao De Jing. So yeah, find both. In fact, you should find the comically illustrated version of this one. So the Chuangzi version of this is blue. That's the version I had first, and it's amazing. It's when you take a comical, funny story and then put goofy illustrations with it, it gets more funny. So I enjoy that illustrated one better than the Lao Tzu illustrated one. Zhuangzi more spoken and ego vibe. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's a big he has an ego, that's for sure. He's a character in most of his own stories, and he's the one who's correct in all of his stories. So Lao Tzu is, Lao Tzu is never self-referenced in Dao De Jing, right? It's more of a legendary figure. Um, but Zhuangzi, yeah, he's more egotistical for sure. Outspoken, yes. Let's put it that way. Outspoken. Oh, I'm trying not to cover up my camera with my hand. Yeah, so there's also a tale that Lao Tzu and Confucius were contemporaries. I mean, obviously, we know Confucius was a real person, so did that happen? I don't know. Is it Lao Tzu the same guy? Is it like another person named Lao Tzu? Was that a title bestowed on that person? Who knows? You know, anyone can be named Old Master, I guess, if dignified, if respected enough. So who knows? I like to think so. You know, if I have to believe in something that's not real, then it might as well be an important figure, right? Okay. Yeah, the Tao rules. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very much. Okay, that's all I have for books. Let's talk about daily practices. So, um, in my daily practice, I usually do it before bed to help me go to sleep. I have developed a little bit of insomnia in my middle age. Uh, Also, anxiety is a problem for me. I'm being stressed out with kids and family and a crazy job that doesn't make any sense right now. And of course, writing is a new tug at my mind. So breathing, especially to relax at the end of the day, is a big thing. There are two types of breathing techniques that I practice. One of them we did at the beginning of this live stream, which is just deep breaths. People call it box breathing. You can also call it like 4x4. But yeah, box breathing is the one that you'll hear most often. You essentially breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. That doesn't mean 4 seconds. That's 4 counts. It can be as long or as short as you need it to be. At the end of the day, it can be a little bit longer because you might be relaxed, and if you're doing it at a out of a moment of deep anxiety, then probably a little faster. uh, but the other one I do, and the one I actually um, learned first, is called 478, and then that one you breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and then breathe out for 8. So we'll go through both of those. So we'll start with box breathing, which I think is the most common one from what I found. And I'm going to tap my fingers to show you the speed of which I count. Okay. All right. Good job. Second one, 478. So about the same speed, but we do it a little differently. You actually don't pause at that completely exhaled moment. You just return to breathing back in. With this one, you breathe in as basically it's going to feel like you're breathing in almost as fast as you can, right? 4 taps is not a long time to completely fill your lungs, but breathing out, that's a controlled breath. So it's very slow. So again, I'll tap my finger to kind of show you the pace at which I'm going, and we'll do it a few times. All right, here we go. Alright, good job. So, I started doing that one because I was having a lot of problems in the middle of the day with panic and anxiety attacks, and because that one is a slower breathe out, then I found it lowered my heart rate faster than the other one. Um, and I got to the point after doing it for about a year where I would find myself naturally jumping into breathing when I got stressed out, which was cool, which my teacher thought was really awesome. But yeah, that's kind of the goal, right? If you're using this for, spur of the moment, like you need to breathe, like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. Um, it's hard to start the practice because you're not thinking clearly. But if you can find a way, write a sticky note and put it on your computer if you work there. Um, if you have a watch, you can set reminders for yourself to breathe in certain, every couple hours, whenever you want to. And then the Apple Watch will take you through just slow breathing repetitions. Um, But you can do whichever one you want, as long as you have the reminder to do them. But yeah, I've talked to other people who, the 478 will basically instantly stop, panic attacks or anxiety attacks. I'm not saying I'm a medical doctor. I do not take this as medical advice, but they are helpful. And the more you do them, the easier they become. And the more you begin to relax into that rhythm and you find your own tempo for what works for you, then the happier I found myself for sure. I definitely found myself more relaxed. But the other part of a daily practice that you guys can do, that I have done in the past, is a words of affirmation or a mantra. So a lot of times a mantra is for meditation. You kind of repeat it over and over again. But what I did is something a little different, where I would wake up every day and I would say a phrase, and then I would either say it kind of under my breath, or if no one was home, I would just say it out loud. I have three children, all under the age of 16. So I'm very busy in the mornings, and the morning time can be really hectic, especially when they were younger when I started doing this. So anything to put a pause on that stressful point of the day, then that's that's what I did. But the phrase I used was thank you for living to see another sunrise. I will use this miracle to help everyone I can. So I say thank you because waking up every day is not guaranteed. All right. I've known people who went to sleep and they just didn't wake up. I've known more than one. So every time, and there's a fear of death in there too. But every time I go to sleep, who knows? I may not see another one. This may have been my last sunrise. So it's a gift. You hear that phrase every day is a gift, and it's true. And the older you get, I think you begin to understand how much of a gift it is because we all know those people who aren't here anymore. So I say thank you to the Tao. You can say thank you to a God. You can say thank you to the spirits, whoever you want to say thank you. Just put it out there. Just put good vibes out into the universe and say thank you. Um, and then I say what I'm going to do that day. I'm going to do everything I can to help someone who may need it. Now, sometimes it's okay if the person who needs help is you. That's okay. Like we are not perfect people. Um, you can meditate for a million years and you're still going to get angry sometimes, right? And you're still going to be stressed out. I wish, some part of me wishes we could just go live on a mountaintop forever. but that's not gonna happen, okay? I've got responsibilities and a job and family and stuff I want, right? I need things. I enjoy things, so I'm here, right? And the goal is going to be to help everyone I can, even if that's myself some days. Cool. But try it. Give it a it doesn't have to be that phrase, it can be any phrase you want to. I wake up early enough to see the sunrise every single day, which is why that made it into the phrase. Thank you for another sunrise. I used to take a photo of a sunrise all the time. I had my wife, she would go take photos of it as she drove to work. It really helped. It made my day easier. It made that, working from home, if you've never worked from home on a full time, like that's a new experience. I used to love being around people, and I loved, sitting around the break room and shooting the breeze, and then to have that all just evaporate one day and work from home, that'll get you. That'll put you through a mental loop if you're not careful. So take care of yourself sometimes. That's okay. Okay, well, that's my daily practice. I'm open to taking questions from anyone about anything. I'll try to share what I know. So just put that in chat. We've had a couple of people watching. That's super cool. I didn't think anyone was going to show up. That's just me, I suppose. All right, we'll see if anyone puts any questions in. No? Okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you coming. I'm gonna do a live stream every Friday, or at least once a week, hopefully on Friday. Fridays are my slow days at work, so this kind of works out to just take my lunch break and breathe and teach you guys something. I next week, I think I'm gonna dive into a certain chapter. I'll pick a chapter, or I haven't since I've been back from writing. I took about a year off for writing, and since I've been back, I haven't talked about Zhuangzi any, and I think I'm gonna start that next week. I think I'm gonna dive in and take my first stab at sharing that since I've been back. So tune in next week. I'm gonna release an article, two long form articles a week from now on, Mondays and Wednesdays. I will get those out. Of course, follow me for short notes and chats. You can always jump into my chat, and I'm happy to answer anything you need. I'm a slave to technology. I love social media. I can't help it. I know I'm not supposed to, but I do. I'll roll over at 5 a.m. just like today. But feel free to stop by. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys later.